everyone. Hello, everyone. It's Thursday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi, and as always, I have the ladies of Your View with me. Hello, Tokwe. How you doing?
On Thursday, since they told you on Tuesday, you just remembered to implement glasses.
Honestly,
I'm good. I also actually have prescriptions for, I'm short-sighted, so I can't see very far. And then people tend to take me as a snob because you might be greeting me from a distance and I actually cannot see you. And they just say, Tokwe does not greet, you know, that kind of thing. But I'm grateful to God. Oh, Mariah, running a business in Nigeria is a blessing. And it's been challenging.
Blessing as in the church balance or...
Yes, blessing as in church balance because you don't want to say how stressful it has been. So I just realized that many people just slap and make it just look like it's all glossy, but there are challenges and the economy is heavily affected. I was at a party and they didn't know I was a makeup artist. 2 ladies were saying, pay 10,000 naira for makeup. Lie. Well, I joke to YouTube for 2 hours. That is like, I sat on YouTube for 2 hours and I did my makeup by myself. And I'm wondering, I just sat there and I was looking like, see my customers. Everybody's resorting to YouTube to help them. And I am feeling the pain of having to pay staff and struggling to make it work. So, yes.
Well, the cheese is moving, so you need to start thinking of where next is a big deal.
Yeah.
So, gradually, because everybody now knows it's important to have makeup. Everybody now knows that you have to learn some type of makeup. Even I'm so bad. I've started learning something, so I can make way with what I have.
And there's something that you introduce which is smart. The daily to learn how to make yourself up, you know, just the minimal glam look that you need. And you know, it's not a lot of money, so people would come to learn that.
I'm just thinking, you know, you just have to, your brains will just start thinking when you realize you need to make money. So yeah, opportunities abound, but I'm looking out for them.
For me, it's my group, my group that I've been working on.
Yes.
Well, coming to the end of the session on Saturday, it has been eye-opening for me. You know, a lot of times I like to say that I'm a learner. I'm willing to learn from anybody. But then to be someone that teaches or coaches and then to get all the testimonies is really humbling, you know, but it's also eye-opening. So it's important to learn, but it's important to be able to give back in some sort of way.
It makes you understand you have a whole lot to offer.
Yes.
I'm joining your class in August, though.
Yes, you are.
I'm doing my final carbohydrate eating this week. I'm eating to the fullest. Because by August 1, I hope to start my keto with you. And I'm really excited about this.
I'm excited to see how you will do.
Is it 1 month or how is it going to happen?
Yes, it's 1 month.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
To just take you, you know, push you, and then you go on your own. And madam,
and pounded yam and granite soup.
Just leave me. Someone was abusing me recently, and Jumoke, I'm warning you that you see this your amalating habit. Jumoke Wode James. This my amalating habit, she just tired of it. I should not bring it there. So, see, when I was choosing menu the other day, I missed you because she's always bullying me into eating. These things, I will try them in my privacy and then see how I can cope with them in public. I don't want to puke on certain menus that I've not eaten before. But then I don't know how we missed it. The former governor of Lagos State, Alhaji Lateef Jakonde, turned 90.
I mentioned it yesterday.
And you did? Yes. I missed it. So I wanted to talk about it on Tuesday. I don't know how I forgot about it, but I wish that all governors would be as accountable. Hold yourself to account as this man. I don't think anybody has even come close to his achievements as a governor. And to think that he still lives in the same residence he lived as a governor.
With his wife.
Humbling.
Both of them look so good together.
Just there, uses everything that is Nigerian, public hospitals, everything. He's living here, doing everything. He believes in this country. Those are the kind of exemplary leaders that we should be talking about. But Nigeria...
Because think about all the other ones that actually flashed all the big money they had. Where are they today, really? Who's celebrating them? So these are the kind of leaders we should actually celebrate.
At 90, you see why he lived long?
Peace of mind.
If people call you looking for a music teacher, I mean, because we mentioned it on TV, suddenly everybody started calling me. I'm like, goodness me.
Really?
I mean, I started getting calls like, oh, yeah, TV is not looking for music.
No,
Tokwe and I. Yeah, we're just looking for somewhere for the kids.
Maybe I went to do something.
So,
I saw that.
Is affordable. I can't afford all this big money.
We're looking for affordable ones, yes.
Affordable music teacher, please. I don't know, you can even do it together.
I need to learn how to manuscript. I've stopped it. I don't write.
You used to do it before?
Okay. So, I need to submit a publication that is going at the end of the month. Right. And they've given me notice since the beginning of the month. But I think as I type.
Google it.
I think I'm typing. So it's taking me,
I'm like that
slow.
too. So what I do is I get the bullet points, and then I begin to deliver.
I have them, but you know, writing it out and giving someone to type is much easier. So I could be sitting somewhere and putting that, but no, Nima will put up the laptop and then be thinking.
Okay, let's go on a break. It's Thursday. Just in all the way. When we come back, we'll go through the top stories of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, thanks for staying with us. Now that our doctor said that we must wear the glasses, so I don't want to strain my eyes as I usually do. I'm so used to straining. Let's start with The Nation. Drama as Senate screens Amechi, Mamura, others. CJN to fight graft. ACF hits Obasanjo over letter to Buhari. EFCC seals off Okorocha's assets. Our aircraft fit, says Air Peace after incident. And picture here of the new CJN taking his oath of office. Okay, which story are we taking in Nation?
I didn't see the Nation.
Let's start with Okorocha's assets. Who has that story?
So the EFCC has said that they only marked, they didn't actually seal these properties. They're undergoing investigations, and that, you know, the property is actually just being investigated because they're so suspicious ways of acquiring these properties. They were acquired during his governorship. So,
and also they also mentioned that the reason why they came to seal is because he refused to honor the invitation. They invited him and he refused to honor it. That was one of the reasons I read.
Okay, maybe that's the Nation's account, but the account that I have is that the notice has not even expired. For the school, for instance, the daughter's school, she's supposed to appear on the 31st, which is next week, Wednesday. And the letter said it was delivered on the 22nd, but now they've marked. Okay. They are saying they only marked. That's the EFCC's account.
Airpiece only on this paper. Who has that story? Anybody took that? Nobody?
Yes, I did. So Airpiece, they're saying that what happened, the plane that crash landed may have been due to pilot error, that the pilot may have landed harder than intended, that usually when weather conditions are like that, you are meant to land a bit harder, but she landed harder than. She was a female pilot, yes. So that's what they're saying may have caused it. They're saying that their aircraft is in good condition. They maintain best maintenance practices. So
I don't want to
so anyway,
accept it.
Well, are you
because everybody was praising
the Airpiece airline? There are reports of several, issues that have happened in the past.
Well, this is a speaker for Airpiece.
They should investigate more.
What the story said yesterday was that nobody should assume what happened. That the Accident Investigative Bureau is going to do a comprehensive, and I don't think they've done that already.
Even their management should. They should check their planes. They should they should do an audit of their aircraft.
The quality of the planes. They just
no. They said
that's what they're saying.
They're saying that the quality of the aircrafts are fine, and the maintenance of their aircraft, they do it according to international best standards. So it is pilot error.
The Punch. Afenifere Ohaneze, Middle Belt attacked ACF, that's Arewa Consultative Forum, for protesting Fulani killer tag. EFCC seals the Okorocha's College, supermarket, and daughter's school. Lots of stories here. Evans arms dealer apprehended in Delta. Police arrived at Lagos Ibadan Road after suspected headsman abducted CMD's son and 2 others. Cultists killed 2 friends, injured pregnant woman in Lagos. 314 worship centers licensed to conduct weddings, says federal government. An American arrested for breaking key in airport workers' ear. Lots of stories here. Let's start with the human interest stories. American that broke a key.
Yes, there's an American. I'm trying to get his name here. Matt Bridlove Sean, an American, was said to have accosted an airport worker who was trying to tow his vehicle. And they got into a fight. How he was able to break the key in the man's ear is still, people are wondering about it. The staff has been taken to the hospital, and he's been taken to...
arrested. Okay, I read the story, 314 worship centers licensed to conduct weddings. So, according to the story, the Ministry of Interior is saying that about 4,600 have actually had the license, but only 314 have renewed their license. So if you go and get married in a place of worship that doesn't have a renewed license, your marriage is null and void. No,
but there's a way they do that. They just give information. The list is there, but at some other churches that don't have the license ask you to go to court. Yes. You get the license from the court. They only present it to you and bless your marriage.
Yeah, but sometimes the churches that have not renewed would act like they can actually conduct the wedding and give you a certificate.
Get the list if you're
so it's important
married.
You know that.
I want to take the story of Evans. So Evans' case for the past 2 years, they've been looking for the man that sells ammunition to him. His name is Chinyere. It was found out 2 years after. People said maybe he came out because he felt that there's been a stall in Evans' case. And he was told to have sold AK-47 to him, sold rocket launchers to this, yes.
Yeah, 1.7 million.
Yes, he's a known arms dealer. He said he learned it locally in the village and that he has repented after Evans got caught. But people are saying no, that he's still going to face prosecution.
But it's interesting to know the police actually still trailed him for all this while. So he thought that everything has died down.
I think we should
and then they
the
caught him. They are doing their job. It's like we don't see, but they actually do their job.
We feel it's not enough.
I'm wondering, with all this tight investigation, why Evans' matter is still under trial for since 2 years.
That's definitely another point.
We need to speed it up.
Okay, any other story in Punch?
The cultists. So, Eye Confraternity yesterday killed 2 young boys. One of them, 29, another 31, Wasiu Olaito, Frank Ambako, and it was in Okokomaiko in Lagos State.
Very close to us here.
Okokomaiko, Lagos. I feel really worried.
It was a really sad story.
We should prevent it by reducing cultist activity within the state.
Exactly. Moving on to Vanguard. Rejig security, keep off pension funds. Ashomole tells Buhari, ACF to OBJ, you lack moral standing to criticize Buhari's handling of security. U.S. travel ban on politicians' validation of electoral malpractices claim, says Atiku. Will assist executive arm battle corruption, says CJN. 30,000 naira minimum wage save Nigeria from looming strike, Labour tells SGF. Minister Senate goes back to bow and go, screens 10. 8 more nominees today.
We'll get there on The Guardian, but the presidential policy retreat that happened at Abuja, at the presidential villa yesterday, the former governor of Edo State was advising, and President Chairman of the APC was advising that, we really need to rejig security as it is in the country to respond to the recent clamor of different groups, clamoring that there's insecurity in their region. And also,
economic.
The pension funds should not be used for, it shouldn't be...
To be budget deficit.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the word. That don't use pension to fund budget deficits. And I think it is important. People have worked for their
And he also highlighted that, the poverty rate is increasing and we're not, looking into population growth as a way to deal with increase in poverty.
There's also, I want to say, U.S. travel ban on politicians. Because
Atiku is saying,
and Buhari is also saying, Atiku is saying, well, it validates or it actually upholds what he was saying, that the elections were rigged. Buhari's camp is saying, no, it shows the popularity of the president in international affairs, that, because for the U.S. to take that kind of action, because they truly regard our presence. So depends on if you are seeing the glass half full or half empty.
People should face your front. Face your front and face your country.
Well,
all these are leaders.
now we're
using... Everybody face your country, a sovereign nation.
All right, let's go to Daily Trust. Ministerial list Senate to screen Sylvia Magashi, 6 others today. Picture here, officials of the Nigeria Customs Service and others destroying tramadol and other illicit drugs. Only 25% tariff hike would discourage milk importation. MTN appoints ex-NCC chief Ndukwe as chair designate. Atiku Buhari group trade wars over U.S. visa restrictions. Reps to probe abandoned projects since 1999. Okay, so...
I'm worried about the hike in milk prices.
What happened? What they're saying? Because remember the CBN governor was saying a couple of days ago that they should totally stop giving them Forex. Totally ban them from bringing in milk. Now, I think the manufacturers or the Milk Association of Nigeria are saying that you don't need to ban them. Just increase the tariff to 25%, and that should do the job. Pretty much that's what the article was saying.
So I wanted to do the major headline, the ministerial list. So
this list.
We screened some, and 6 out of all the people we screened yesterday took Iba. I would have loved that, I would have loved that, when the former Minister for Transport came, since we had issues of inflated budget for the railway contracts that he was awarded. One of the senators at least did not recognize the fact that he was a former House of Assembly member and went into the details of those contracts, just to ask, just for clarity. Just to let you feel that...
They're so eager to go on their recess that they just want to speed up this process.
Things even the elections in River State can show his character, the way the disunity. So there's so much to talk about his character.
So much has alluded to that, but he was just saying, ensure that there's peace.
He's coming back, so whatever about his character is something that must have been discussed the first time around.
They can actually stop it. They can actually, because their job is to screen, right?
And it's just like exactly what
they can turn it down.
We had our guest yesterday, Utoju said it, that what we're going to have is just nobody is going to be questioning what is going on now.
It's painful.
It's sad.
Adamu, for instance, I know if your view ladies were screening Adamu.
They should just give me 1 minute with
oh God,
the screening should have been on this show.
Adamu was asked. The only thing that I felt delayed was the certificate. The fact that his CV was very loaded CV, but the certificates were missing. Only his NY certificates came. And he simply just pointed out his primary school classmates, secondary school classmates, university classmates within the chambers. Okay. And that was the certificate. And but you can bring it.
And take it.
Okay, Daily Sun. Very sad. 2019 elections fall out. Buhari Atiku fight over US ban. Tribunal dismisses PDM's petition against Buhari. Okorocha in trouble, that's not correct. Afenifere gives Fulani vigilantes quick notice. Stolen 400 million. No, yesterday was 600 million. Now it's 400 million. Back to 400. Stolen 400 million. GOC finance officer to face court martial. So
these two GOCs, the GOC and the finance officers, have been moved to Abuja under tight security for this money. What I was waiting for to hear is a clear express, claiming of this amount of money and what the army was transporting the money by road for. But now they are going to face a court martial, general court martial.
We won't know what happens.
No, but the thing that he's supposed to, yesterday we were talking about, he's going to answer where the funds came from in the first place. So I guess that was being moved.
Are we privy to know what happens in a military court martial?
That's it.
Would it be done?
In this 2019 for monies to be traveling by cash anymore.
Okay, let's just read the headlines. The Guardian, we can't take that. Fresh hurdles against minimum wage takeoff. NLC-TUC threatened action over stalled negotiations. Shiites vow to sustain protests till Zakzaki's wife regained freedom. And Oprah objections greet Amechi's screening in Senate. Okay, that's all we can take on today's top stories. When we come back, as I said, it's Thursday. We'll be gisting all the way. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So lots and lots of stories. Today, this morning, we're asking, should you share your past before getting into marriage? And when is it too late to share one's past to your spouse or with your spouse? Join the conversation 070-8066-8014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. Okay, so, recently, with the conversation was ongoing about when is the right time to share, especially in recent times we've heard stories where a husband is saying he didn't know about his wife's dark past until very recently. Now, a lot of people are thinking, okay, is that right? Should she have withheld that information from him before getting into the marriage? And how did he take it? And how do you expect a husband to take that kind of information about your past when you've gone at least 4 or 5 years into marriage? So in your view, do you think it's right for a woman to open up her past before the marriage, or take the risk of getting into that marriage and hoping that it will never have to come up? And if it does come up, hope that the husband will accept it. Let me come to you, Mariam. What are your thoughts on this?
For me, I think it depends on what it is.
Is your past?
Yes. Mostly, I think, it's your past, leave it in the past. And when I was doing research on this to just hear what marriage counselors tell people, there was one that really caught my attention. She said she has 3 questions she asks people. And she says, first, is there any other way that the person, your spouse, can find out? If there is another way, then it's best to just let the person know, because it's worse for the person to find out from outside. Then secondly, have you been asked about it before? So maybe in the beginning of the relationship, it came up and you lied about it. It's not good to start like a marriage off of a lie. So it's best to, come clean and say, okay, you see, when you asked me the first time, this was actually a lie, this is what happened. Then thirdly, question is, does it affect your relationship in any way? Is it mentally, emotionally, physically affecting your relationship? For example, like people who've had cases where they have been raped before. Some of them are still dealing with, the trauma. So they find it hard during times when they're intimate with their husband, or they cannot be fully intimate with their husbands. The husband, or wives in this case, you know, need to know why this is happening. So
I wish I had
those
this
are the
information before, because if I'm going to answer the questions now, I'd have said no.
Exactly. So
but
if
I still
those,
shared the information.
Okay. So if it's no, then don't bother. But if one is yes, then you should share.
So my own answer to that question, I had a no, and I still shared. And I think the sharing it, I think today, I wish I hadn't shared it because it was unnecessary. It doesn't affect our marriage in any shape or fashion. So I shouldn't have shared that information.
Which I understand. Let me just add this, because my husband also said to me, because I asked his opinion, he said, see, I'm blissfully ignorant about some things. Don't come and put your burden because you feel some guilt or shame. If it doesn't affect me, it has nothing, keep it. Because what it does is that you take away the burden from yourself and now put it on me. Now I'm carrying the burden around.
Right. Interesting. Yes. So let me come to you. What do you think about this?
I personally feel that there should be no secrets in marriage. I feel that, you know, the Yoruba says, "Entobama sinyo." Person that will bury you. You don't hide yourself from that person. By the time you get into marriage and you feel you are about to marry someone who you feel cannot handle some things about your past, then I question you marrying that person in the first place. So if I'm going to marry someone, my husband knows everything about my past. You will find out anyway, because I can't keep that as a secret from you. Oh, this person, I dated this person. Oh, this one, it was just one date. This one, nothing happened. This one, every information, I was just like parrot. You know it. So nobody can come and give you one funny story tomorrow because you know that, see, I know her. She told me everything. You guys dated Abby. Nothing happened. Okay, something happened. Okay, whatever it is, he knows. That builds a platform of trust. That means we are going into the marriage in agreement. And if some of the things I said, if he couldn't handle it and he goes, I'll know that this is not my husband because he can't handle me. But if I'm assuming he can't take it and I hide it from him, then I'm already underestimating his capacity to be the man in my life. That's my own opinion, though.
Very textbook.
I like all these textbooks.
No, this is my reality.
That's your reality.
It just sounds very...
It's not that easy. So what I say is when you're ready and when the time is right. Just trust in the person that, you know, whenever you're ready and when the time is right, when you say it, there will be an understanding. Sometimes when you say it in the beginning, before you get into marriage, you might not even get the opportunity to be well known. So if he knows you better and you're telling him, he might tend to trust more your side of the story. So I once got a call from my husband, and I'm going to get Ken for this one. So he called me from the office. I didn't know I was on speakerphone and said they were debating. Since I'm a talkative, he believes that I can't have secrets. So he asked, and I said, of course I have secrets from you. Is it everything you can handle? And that shocked everybody, even himself. Yes, the way I see it, it doesn't affect you, and it doesn't, it would not damage you. It's my damage. I have dealt with it. You might find out when it's a settled matter. I think that's the best thing. And then some people would have an experience that, you know, you think you must share at all costs, and then it continues to grow. You now have to deal with it, and your spouse now has to deal with it. You just continue to spread the burden. The way I see it,
let's put some perspective on this. Let's put some perspective, because when we're talking about sharing about past relationships, sharing about the fact that you have been raped, sharing the fact that you've been abused by a relative, sharing about the fact that you've had several abortions or you've not had any, sharing about you have fertility issues. Some people will say they don't share, like when you start saying it's allowed to keep some things away, then where will we draw the boundary of what we should keep away in marriage?
Okay, what I heard Nima say, I think what also connects with what I went through. When I shared a bit of what happened in my past with my husband at the time, we're fairly new. We're just knowing each other. So when I told him that information, and his immediate response was, let's just retrace ourselves, find a way to fix that problem. And he told me to go and fix it. Now, fast forward, he's known me X amount of years. He knows the intention. He understands the kind of person I am. So if I'm giving him that information now, the kind of decision he took then, he will say, you know what, I understand why you did that, and let's let it go. You know, but he insisted that you can't change it because he didn't know me that well at the time. I'm saying that you have to understand when we drive.
Let me just, you know, the thing is, I know a lot of times we think it's about trust. It's not always about trust, that maybe I don't trust my husband does not trust me. Sometimes it's, am I even ready myself. It's not that you love your spouse less or you trust the person less. Some people have not been able to open up to their parents, and their parents love them unconditionally. So people have been unable to open up to anyone. This is something that they are dealing with, and that's why in the beginning when I started, I said it depends on what it is. Sometimes you need to have dealt with it on your own before you can share it with anyone.
And men will respect that.
Some people don't even find out about their parents until, you know, maybe when they're dead,
so
and then they find out something.
Let me share a personal example, for instance. Growing up, I had 3 sisters, and everybody had a normal cycle, menstrual cycle. I knew I was abnormal. 6 months, 4 months, no cycle, just flanging, enjoying your life. I knew it wasn't normal. Reading books, I knew this is something that I have to face with my spouse. But we didn't sit down and I'll be telling him, this is how I see my period. So once we got married, I just kept insisting we need a family doctor. I think we need someone to see. I didn't say it before I got married.
Because you'd have thought you got maybe...
Yes, he would have wondered, and if he had shared it with somebody more less informed than him, I might be in trouble. They would just judge without...
Cannot give that to...
I know my people, she said, waiting. She don't have bought belly tire. Don't be Lagos speaking. I beg to get on waka tire. But once we were married, he knew the woman he married. Right. When I shared it, we sought it, and my husband was with me from day one till the end. Right. So if I had given him an information he wasn't ready to handle, he would have sought advice from maybe another wrong person. That's the way I see it.
And so I have another side to a similar story where a lady was aware that she had fibroid because she was having heavy bleeding, and sometimes they told her it was nothing. Diagnosed? Yes, she was diagnosed. They said there was nothing. It wasn't something serious. Like it wouldn't stop her from having kids. But when the man asked that, let's get married, the moment she got the ring, she told the guy, I have a gynae issue. This and this and this. Let's go get checked. Follow me to your own doctor to check and be sure. So that you know you are walking into a marriage with someone that has fibroid-related issues. The man agreed to the marriage. After marriage, they removed the fibroid. They still don't have kids. But the point is, it will be inhuman for the man to find out after marriage that you were aware you had fibroid issues and you didn't say anything. Because we underestimate what the man has capacity to handle. Now, not all men can handle such situations. Certainly. Some men don't have the maturity to handle many things. So
any of them.
One, you must be wise enough to know that you're married to a mature person, because many people are old but not mature.
Yes, that's a very important point. But you see, let's be realistic. A woman now wants to get married. Half of us want to get married. Yeah, and you meet a man who's ready. And you feel that this one information is going to stop your dreams from happening or getting married. Because, hey, you're 45, you want selfish. Now you want, so that happens. Okay, so a woman in that kind of situation, would you insist that she shares that information?
You see, like I said, I'll go back again. It depends on what it is. I believe that if you have a health issue, if you have HIV, you definitely have to say it. Yes. If you have fibroid, you should say it. And really, it's about the person. The line? Also, no, it's not about drawing the line. See, the person you're marrying, I hope for many reasons, he's not just someone that you just want to grab and keep in your house. Already you have conversations with the person, you understand the person. You are probably of the same mindset. So things like fibroid, for one, I don't think that things like fibroid and infertility issues will be something to hide from the sort of partner that I have. But if I cannot discuss things like that with my partner, probably maybe he's not the one I shouldn't be with. No, see, in that case,
there are some superstitious spouses. Very
then you shouldn't be with that person.
Listen, somebody will marry them now. I mean, somebody will marry them. So there's a man that was very, very highly superstitious. That it was one village person that did something. So when you give them that kind of information, you know that you go and pray and fast to ask God for deliverance for your own body. So you enter the marriage. No, God, though, I have entered this marriage. Please help my situation.
If you're sure
is that deceit? Is that deceit? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we went on the streets to ask people their thoughts on this question. Watch this.
Well, we all have odd past, but the better we share it earlier before we eventually get settled in our matrimonial home. The reason, if an outsider should let it known to us, it will create some pain and anger within us.
I think me and my spouse is already bonding very well. I think it's high time I share whatever I have, any secret I have in me to my spouse.
Before marriage. Otherwise, it's fraud. You deceive somebody, especially if the information is tangible.
The issue of pass means a little as far as I'm concerned. But as early as possible, the pass should be shared. But whenever it is shared, one should consider it to be passed and move on.
Once you are dating, that is the time I think you need to let your spouse know one or two things about your past in a relationship.
I think that question it should be personal. Do you understand? Like me, before I got married to my husband, there are things I told him about myself. Do you understand? It depends on the person you are dealing with. Because if you come to realize that the person that's your spouse to be is very understanding and the relationship is based on truth and nothing but the truth, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't tell him everything about you.
Okay, wow. That's from the Vox Pop. Somebody used the word fraud there. And we're talking about deceit for the break. You see, there are cases where a man goes into marriage and doesn't tell the wife that he can't get his stuff up. And you get into marriage and the wife is now seeing for the first time that Oga can't do anything. There are issues where the man has refused to disclose to his tenant wife things he has done. Or he has kids outside somewhere. So these are things that you say, does it matter as we're moving forward? You ask those three questions. Yeah, does it emotionally affect what we're trying to build?
Since we're putting it in perspective, I wanted to say that if you know for a fact that you have infertility, for instance, you've tried before or you've been married before, it didn't happen, it will be deceitful to go into marriage without telling the other party. And I've seen a couple. This man had a past. Tokwe was the one gisting me this, you know. The man had a past and they had a very, what they called venereal sexual disease. STD. A serious STD. And this had affected 2 marriages in the past. They couldn't have children. They couldn't. So the women left and they had children in their other marriages. I married this lady who stuck to him, who was with him, and made her have the impression, because she started late, that she was the one, the cause of it. You know how many bottles of Agbo that this lady had to drink before we found out that it was the man? And see, there's nothing without solution. Once he was treated, they have 2 children. Now he's even scared when she's threatening to leave that he might never have children beyond these 2. He cannot go with these 2. He wants to die there. So sometimes it's not always on the woman's side. For the one I said, I think I need to clarify, Tokwe has advised. I didn't know I had an infertility issue. I just knew I was not normal as compared with my sisters. Yes. But myself and my husband were not having a conversation as to sexuality. Before marriage. No, before marriage. It was about our lives, what you wanted, your dreams, and you know what you could take and what you couldn't. Sexuality and all that, we just left that one until we discovered it and dealt with it as it came. So it depends on the issue at hand and the conversation. Okay. The 3 specifics that you raised now, which is infertility, whether you could get it up or not, it depends, I always say, on the time, at the time as it comes. If you see it as a problem before marriage, you might just throw away a good person. If, for instance, you don't disclose it and then you find out into marriage, you both seek solution and it's solvable. Is that a major issue? It's not a major issue. But we blow it out of proportion. It depends on who the person confides in.
I didn't want to bring in this couple because we all know this couple, but I think it's important that we throw it in because a lot of men are having issues in their marriages today because of this kind of information. So we saw Timidaklo came up recently and said that he didn't know about what happened to his wife, allegedly happened to his wife, till 2018.
When she was ready.
When she was ready to talk about it. A lot of men are in that situation today and they won't handle it the way he's handling it. A lot of men will say, like, auntie, no wonder I don't have a boy. No wonder you only have daughters. You know, all sort of funny stories. A lot of men would not handle situations the way he handled it. So our conversation now is, in a situation whereby a wife or a man or the husband refuse to disclose X amount of years into the marriage, how should you feel cheated? Should you feel like he owes you some kind of apologies or she owes you an apology?
It still goes back to what it is. It still goes back to what it is because, sister, see, one thing with rape. Yes, but this is rape and it is personal to you. It is not your husband, and then it's not your husband's problem until it affects the marriage. Really, if it never affected you, if it does not affect you, it does not affect the marriage. If emotionally, physically, intimately, it does not affect the marriage, it is still your problem and it's your past. And until you're ready to share it, and sometimes you're sharing not because it has affected the marriage, but just like I've known you long enough. We have this relationship. We talk about everything. I know how you think. You know how I think. Do you know I actually went through this? I'm like, really? And how did you handle it? So that is one.
Okay,
let Madam answer.
Because for me, there is no. If you've gone, there is no way that we can trivialize the issue of rape. It is a major one. It would affect someone. For someone that did not share that story, it is actually affecting her. That's why she didn't share it. Some people deliberately give themselves amnesia. They decide to forget it.
Exactly.
So and when this story came out, deliberately people were hailing Timi Dakolo that you be na man you be. You are a man. So we must put this on the table. When situation, if you deliberately hide and withhold an information that would be detrimental to your marriage, that would affect your marriage, you deliberately withhold that information, then you have committed fraud in that marriage.
No, you're wrong. You're so wrong on this one.
Let me land.
You're wrong.
If for any reason you are unable to share a traumatic story because of the psychological effect, and you finally summon courage to share it, you did not commit fraud. You were not deliberately trying to hide something from him. You just couldn't face the reality because the emotional burden on you. So that is a different situation. We should separate fraud from PTSD because it's different.
Hang it, have a call. Okay. Thanks for calling. Are you there?
Good morning.
Morning. Go ahead.
Your sisters are doing wonderful things this morning.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, this is a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
So, my dear sister, and in particular, to Sister Tokwe, I want to please advise. I'm a man married for over 10 years. It is not advisable to some reasonable level to share virtually all your past. Because your past remains to be your past. Like the sisters at your right side, she's saying what exactly should be done. Some things are expected to discuss, while some things are expected to be personal to you. For example, if you have given birth to a baby before, it's better you explain such a thing. These are things that you will definitely meet in future. But something that are personal, like you have been raped before, you have been, all those ones are personal things that you need to deal with.
It's not
so I want to advise couples, these are small things that brings about problems. It's not all about trust. Trust is something that is from the mind.
Right.
So may God help our marriage.
Thank you very much, Rotimi. Nima, let me jump in here.
So I wanted to clarify deceit. Deceit will be that, I have a child.
Yes.
I hide the child.
Malicious.
I have a child is not a crime. I don't want before not be disease.
Yeah.
But I hide the child and say, oh, it's my mother's last born or my sister's other child. Why we go into marriage, that is deceit. But that I have had a child and I refuse to talk about it, it's not deceit.
Oh.
Yes, it's not. It's not.
Whether I rewind, I don't understand. Hold on, rewind. I say that I would just say I've had a child.
This is it. If I had a child out of rape, that I don't feel strong enough to talk about, I am in that position where I'm not psychologically bad. I'm not saying to you that the child is not mine. You just, we've not talked about it. That's a separate matter. But when I come out and say, and you see that child every day, and I point at that child, and you know that child, some people have in their past, have to give up a child for adoption. Do you kill them for not disclosing it?
Okay.
They don't talk about it if it was something traumatic.
So my husband and I actually came up with scenarios because in discussing it was quite interesting for us, and we talked about having a child. So he says for him, if you have a child before we got married, and for some reason you didn't tell me, but eventually during the marriage you tell me, I would be shocked, but it's something I can take. But if you were to have a child in marriage that you know is not mine, and you kept it from me, and then years later you tell me about it, that I would not take. But I'm likely to be able to understand if you had a child and it took you a while to finally tell me. For me, I just feel that if I have a child, I'll tell you up front. I'll tell you up front. That is me.
There will be so many shades of grey.
No.
This thing, and they will allow anything to fly in.
And so that's where wisdom comes into it now.
Anything will fly in. So for me, if you've gone through rape, it can be traumatic. No, as in they will touch. You feel a touch. I didn't used to hug people for a long time. I didn't, because for me, if you hug me, it just brings back memories that were not pleasant. So in marriage, for my husband, it was a lot of touching, can't take it. Like it was a lot. So if he didn't know, you just think I married a frigid wife.
When did you tell him?
Before marriage, everything was declared before marriage. Okay. That's my own case. Say everything up front. Let him understand that I am being honest with you because I trust you. Let me land. Let him understand that I'm being honest with you because I trust you. And if he cannot take it, because you know the value you have as a woman, you understand that if he loses you, he's losing something of value. You step out of that relationship. It is not worth it going into a relationship with deceit, knowing you are lying to him maliciously.
If it's rape is not.
Go ahead. If you yourself are mature enough to know what you're dealing with and can put a name to it, that's a different thing. Some people don't even know what to call their rape.
Yeah, that's I understand.
They don't even know what to call it.
That I understand. That's why I said that if you don't know.
Let's go to break. I'm going to break because we're going to switch the conversation a bit. Similar, we're going to be talking now about men, or actually lots of men who have died without disclosing to their wives the amount of wealth they have. So the bankers are there
largezing of
their wealth, while the wives, this is all part of not sharing, not disclosing to your spouse on what you actually have. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
All right, thank you, Steve. So we're going to be going to a related topic, but before you jump in there, Tokwe wanted to say something. Was it Mariam wanted to say something concerning this?
No, yes, I was
topic?
asking Tokwe, and she said she was able to share her story with her husband just before they got married. And I'm saying sometimes really we need wisdom, because we're happy that you finally ended up with this man, but how many boyfriends would you have disclosed this your secret to, before getting married? So I think that when it comes to rape, I don't see. We've all had, well, I think on this table we've all had our stories of abuse one way or the other. And for me, I've had quite a few. And my husband was saying to me as we're discussing this, he said, I never pushed you. You sort of mentioned it at the beginning. Oh, this may have happened to me, but I never pushed you to disclose it because you have to come to terms with it first. I'm not going to be digging and pushing you. I'll wait. So there's a maturity. My own is that, first of all, you want to marry a person, marry a decent person.
Exactly.
You're already having decent conversations, you understand him. But to be telling one, you're in a relationship and I want to and I want to give full disclosure. So I'll tell you all that's going on with me. The next one comes in and the same thing.
That shows that the lady herself might not be mature enough to deal with situations.
So that's what we're saying, wisdom
if you're
is
discerning,
important.
you will know this man can handle. One, you will know this man is mature based on your conversation, and not everybody does, and that's the reason why you don't go into multiple timeless relation. Like you're not dominating telling anybody your story. And I must reiterate that if for any reason due to trauma, male or female are unable to share part of their story, it is not malicious deceit. You did not intend to defraud that person into marriage.
So let's move on to this
other
situation. A female bank manager recently made a revelation on how banks and bankers make plenty money from dead men who kept their bank accounts secret from their wives. According to her, it was against bank ethics for an account officer to inform the relatives of a deceased customer of his account without his permission. She also revealed instances of dead men whose families are still suffering while they have millions stashed away in their secret accounts. I might be on this table. What are your thoughts on this? You can call us on 070-806-68014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag #YourTV so we can read this. You see, the thing is that when my father died, we the children, we could have sworn this man has money somewhere. He must have money. Yeah, there's got to be money somewhere. We were just looking through everywhere. No, mommy, I don't know. We searched we were just seeing HSBC, we're seeing Hong Kong, we started trying to find where is this man's money. Till tomorrow, maybe we'll find it tomorrow. But you see, they don't disclose to their wives. They don't give their wives information. So it's possible my father had money and the banker have just with our money like that. I don't even internationally, nobody told us anything. We tried to appeal, but we were unable. So in this situation of disclosure, at what point should you disclose to your spouse about properties, things you have?
I believe it should be immediately. Immediately,
for
yes,
money.
while you're acquiring, yeah, for money.
Of course.
For money, when we have a family, it should be immediately. The way I operate, anything at all I want to do, any investment at all that I want to do, Oga has to sit like a board and approve. Reason is because, number one, you're my next of kin. I don't want to have, as a lawyer, I've seen this thing happen too many times. You go and make one brother or cousin your next of kin while you're married, and then they are facing issues getting your letters of registration because the court has to determine who your proper next of kin is, especially when you are in a marriage. People confuse these things too many times. It was until recently safe that one of my seniors was clarifying for me that with the letter of registration to the bank, they will just release all the accounts. They don't have to give you only the one you applied for. Yeah. The person had, I said, what if it's another bank? Say, no, with this BVN, it might even be easier. Because I didn't even think it was possible. The wife now has to go and get a letter of registration to access an account that, you know, her husband has after his died.
She's aware of, right?
That she's aware of. It might be the one with the lowest amount of money they give herself.
Okay, men usually say women are not responsible, that you can't tell them everything you have. You know, if they know everything about you, they will just take advantage. So there are men that have that conversation.
This is a big table you are about to shake. And I'm looking at these two people saying, oh, you must disclose, you must disclose, you must disclose. Now all of you want to be disclosing everything when it comes to money.
It's not the same thing.
But the reality is that when people marry someone they feel is a spendthrift, some men are just maliciously withholding funds from their family. Some are doing it because they feel, oh, let me plan for the future, let me plan for our children. If it is a deliberate thing, then have a lawyer, have this official overriding information of everything you own in the case of your death. But if it is malicious, then it is wrong. You shouldn't hide anything, monetary or not, from your partner. Okay. And women have done this thing too. Yes, we've had cases where women own the house and their wives, their husbands are paying rent to their wives of the house they are living in. Yes, that has happened in many. That story is very, very common around us, where women deceive their husbands to saying that this is not my house, but let's move in there and then be paying rent and it's for them. So when you start allowing lies, you cannot determine how far these lies would go.
Okay, so for me, first of all, I wanted to deal with the case of the bankers and lawyers, as you mentioned. I think that bankers are obligated, once you fill the account form, you have your next of kin. You know, so you're obligated if, I mean, we all run accounts. If you've not run an account for a while, they send you text messages. We haven't, you know. So they're obligated to actually reach out to the next of kin. So for that bank or those bankers may just be fraudulent, you know, just being fraudulent. Then we have lawyers also who are on this table, who have all the information like you suggested, and would not disclose to the family and just be making money off the deceased. So that is one. But I really feel that when it comes to money, you can have full disclosure. You do not have to give your wife the card or the password or the PIN to that account, but you can make her aware of what you have. So in case of things like this, she knows where to go.
You live for 100 and you live for 50 years.
Let me take this call from Daniel. Daniel, are you there?
Yep.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Oh, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, first time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, and your topic this morning on bankers getting rich through debt service fund. Yeah. So I was once a banker. Okay, so this topic you're saying is real. It happens.
For real? Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I won't disclose the name of the bank I once worked with, but we once had an experience like this of a client who died. You understand? For the family, as in, it was a very difficult situation for them. They were going through a lot that, out of my own sympathy, I had to come out, call the wife separately after viewing her account without the office knowing. After viewing the late man's account, let the wife know how much was in that account, show the wife all what she needed to do, take out the National Population Commission to get the death certificate, all those things, just for her to access the fund, because they were about evicting them from their house. Meanwhile, the husband was having money in his account before he died. So I see this as a strategy that banks use in adding to their capital base. You understand? Through this evil gossip money. You understand? It's either, even lawyers sometimes don't help situations,
lawyers don't help,
because if you do all your documents with them, sometimes some lawyers won't disclose your family when the man is gone.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Daniel, for this. You see, this conversation is always difficult to have in the family because people think, do you want me to die? What are you talking about? We don't talk about death too. We shall live, we shall not die. But you see, we must all get to that point where we have the conversation of what happens after either of us die. Somebody must have access to what we have.
I wanted to even make defense for some men who deliberately put, what do you call it, ignorance is bliss for their wives, create an ignorance bliss for their wives. Because when I was growing up, I saw this thing happen where relatives just came from the village. Give me the passbook. You are dead. Beat this woman to stupor. The woman did not know. Beat her. Give me the passbook was the word then. Maybe now we have this mobile. Give me the passbook. Bring the passbook. They will keep saying, she has run inside with the passbook. She took it to her brother. Passbook. Like you will take it to the bank and take his money. Family members who felt that their brothers have, or maybe the brothers even said, don't worry, I will pay your school fees. They didn't know where it was going. They didn't know the wives knew nothing. So men used to keep their wives in ignorance, thinking they were protecting them, and and do not disclose what they have, but because of what will happen if they should die. But these things still happened anyway. When they died, the women still suffer both sides. Some people had to go through serious burial.
People always think that they'll do that when they get old. They wait for them.
I think you live to 100 and then
you do that. Right now, it's too early.
So what is important is that you leave a will. Take an inventory of what you have yourself
100%.
And leave it. We don't die intestate for somebody to go and be discovering one account anyway.
Kayode Kaka says, only fools keep secrets of bank accounts and properties. My wife is my next of kin. We own what I or she owns. I forced my wife to be a signatory to all my accounts. I have since added one of my children as signatory to bank account just in case both of us pass away at the same time. Oluwatomi Seodunade says, if your husband-to-be isn't matured enough to take your past, do not share, except if it's going to affect the future, then share. Moses Hassan says, once you share information to your spouse, whichever kind before marriage, because it's personal to you, sorry for you the day he hears it from someone else. Remember, even the walls have ears, and it will shock you when your private information is out there.
So Andrew twist is quite enlightening. He says the best thing to do, the best thing today is today in the 21st century is to upload your personal details to organizations who keep details and accounts on it after death. The problem is Nigerian records are not updated as regards marriage and death certificates. So there are organizations you can actually keep this information if you don't want to share it with family, but they should know that these are places that they can go and get those information.
Strict access like you mentioned, but share. Let the person know it exists so that they know how to legally access it.
Morning, are you there?
My people.
Tanya, thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Who?
You're live. Go ahead, Tanya.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, I want to contribute to what you are saying.
Yes, go ahead, please.
First-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
So I'm a first-time caller from
I'm glad for you now.
Yes, the idea of a woman telling her spouse or the fiancé what are secret.
Listen to me, not the TV, please. You can't listen to the TV. Listen to me. Go ahead.
Phone.
Unfortunately, you have to cut that out.
We have more to it.
So, yes.
David Obasomi says, it depends on the level of maturity of both parties, as well as the timing of the relationship, how responsible they are. You can take it.
Oluwatomisin Odunade says, if your husband-to-be isn't mature, did you take that? Isn't mature enough to take your past, do not share, except it's going to affect the future. Share.
Adisa Denigma says, hey, sisters, because women naturally are likely to be spendthrift in a good way anyways, some men will never share with them.
I don't like that. I actually find it offensive when people use that as an excuse.
Come back. We'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So this matter, you have tweets, please, Tokwe?
Yes, I do. So, Odedonyi says it's expedient for spouse to share their past to have a healthy relationship. When nothing is hidden, the relationship is safe. It's out of place to get to know more about your spouse through a third party. Good morning. So for me, going back to that original one we're discussing, I realized that because we live in a society that is extremely judgmental, we expect that everybody will be dealing with would judge. And I've heard stories where, sincerely, the husbands actually started reminding the man, the wife that, that's how it happened the last time too, so it can happen again. You double dated before marriage. I cannot trust you in marriage. You might end up cheating. So we need to just let men understand, and even women, that when to whom much is given, much is expected. If your partner decides to trust you with something heavy, it's because they feel you have the capacity to handle it. And so when it's given to you like that, please, our men and our women, when you have secrets, don't use it to taunt the person that gave it to you, because we tend to do that. Don't use it to taunt, because next time you won't get any other information.
Let me take Matthew. Matthew, are you there? Oh, sorry. So the notion that women are spendthrifts, that's why men don't disclose. Is that, do you agree with that?
There's a tweet answering both of you already. Ade Sigwe says, I told my fiancé how much I had in my account saved to get an apartment next year. After studying, believing she's not the type that will ask me for the same cash. A few weeks later, she told me to borrow her 50K. And I was like, because you know she has money. So yes, truly, the women can, you know, even the first time he tweeted it, he said it with a little bit of caution. Women focus on what money needs to be used for in the house, while the man is saving up.
Yeah.
So it's not about being spendthrift. For instance, if I see a course I think my child should take, I don't consider whether the father has a plan to buy a car or build us. I just want to spend that money.
You know that's something.
My husband will say, I feel like eating chicken. I want my children to eat good well. I will say, let the children eat fish for the next 2 months so that I can save and buy a big generator or something. I believe in savings. This is something that's actually said in my home quite often. My husband says, you think of how to spend it. I think of how to make it. I'm thinking the kids need this, and they are not frivolous things, yes. You know. I'm thinking it's summer, you know, we're talking summer school, we're talking maths, we're talking music. Those are things that the children need to grow and develop and groom them properly. It's like, okay, I hear you, but where have we made it first?
For instance, let them come and take me.
But we're not spendthrift, so
for instance,
I don't like that excuse, and I feel that it's an excuse that men.
Yes. For instance, my husband once believes in vacation, and I do not. He believes in going out dinner, and I do not. I believe, how much are we going to spend on the table? Or I'll make you the best food that you eat in your life inside the house. So we have areas we're spending more. Oh, exactly.
True. Very true.
Neighbor, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Very true.
Please, I want to make my contribution as regards the first issue you discussed.
Yes, go ahead.
The issue of your past. From the Christian perspective, it is always good to use wisdom, just like Miriam said. Use wisdom before divulging any information about your past. You'll be led by God. Let God lead you.
So God can lead you to keep secrets.
And again, on the part of the man or the woman, either of the spouse, we should have that maturity. We should be mature, because once you make up your mind to love somebody, you should be able to let go.
Exactly. I like that one.
There's this very strong tweet that I wanted us to take. Adegboyega says, the very human who could be so stingy with his own account information to his wife and children doesn't deserve any compassion after death. Whoever later owns the money shouldn't be questioned, but the miser customer.
Okay.
So he is now justifying the people who, blaming the dead and justifying what the people do. And in reality, as difficult as it might be to accept, because I wanted to question it, it might be true.
You know, I used to work at a company, I worked at a company, I won't mention the company, one of the companies. And I was privileged to access information. And one of our staff then passed on. And he made his brother
next of kin.
His next of kin. Now, the wife, at the time, I think they were having issues, rent and all that. And she was broken, and the family, they come and carry all their property and all that. And she came to them to see if there's anything that her husband, because her husband has spent about 10 years in the company, any entitlements he gets. Unfortunately, they told her there was nothing they could do because the property was going to all the money was going to her brother. Now, I was trying to, myself and my colleague then, because then I was working in human resource, we're trying to make sure our CEO find a way to override. He said his hands were tied because there was a document.
I tied the hands. Mora, let me tell you what I did. When I was in LASU, I served briefly in LASU. I was made to advise the school on this kind of thing. Somebody had died intestate. And the next of kin was one brother. He came with a group of brothers that they wanted to access his gratuity or something. I went to, there was this section that was new. I studied it while studying law. Section 4 of the Administration of Estates Law that brings in the dependents. I kept insisting on my advice that I want to see the dependents. Show me more. Direct. Show me more. The man was just looking at me like I was the devil. If he asked, that was my advice to the VC. I will not allow you walk away to go and use the man's money on your
At that time was many years ago. At that time, the CEO said, "Mara, I don't want to get involved because let us give exactly to who
the law. They amended because of such situation at the time. That section 4 now brings people who can establish that they were entirely dependent on the dead while they were alive to be the one to access that money.
Right. That was Mr. Jebaya says, I am not under any obligation to disclose anything to my wife, but I do have a record of events written down for future reference. This is just to safeguard from external pressure that is associated with the disclosure. And Oshino Kingsley says, my children...
Wait, pause for a second. Yeah. He said he's under no obligation. Is that correct?
Who said?
A man is saying, I'm under no obligation to disclose to my wife.
That's okay. Very wrong. And it's at his detriment, child. You can do it at your own.
Anyway, he says he has things just to safeguard against external pressure. I guess external pressure from knowing that I have this.
Okay, there are better ways to do it. I, for instance, know about all our investments. Accounts. I have, if it's about PIN, I have the PIN. But my husband knows I'm not one to be bothered about it. So if you know that's the kind of wife you have, you are safe. If you think he's the one that will insist on it, you change your PIN, you lock your account, but let her know that so number of accounts are with so number of banks. Let her call you whatever, but let her know so that in case, except you are working for somebody else. Right. If you are working for this wife and children, don't die and go and work for another person's family to live. I'm telling you.
Let me take this call from Victor. Victor, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Please, thanks for calling. Go ahead. You're live. Go ahead, please. Victor.
Hello.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
So sorry.
I wanted to answer one tweet that you read about. The person said that when the bankers use this money, it's actually, they're doing nothing wrong. I think there's a curse that comes with that. There's a Bible verse that talks about people who eat what is meant for orphans and the fatherless. So for the bankers and lawyers who are doing that, your turn will come. So better, in fact,
in the Quran, in Surah to Ma'un, there's a curse when you spend the rights of the poor and the orphan and you eat it. So
but shouldn't there be a policy change from CBN saying that they should be able to disclose this? Is that what we should be pushing for?
I think we have enough policies on ground. The bankers that are doing this are committing fraud. It's a crime. So it's not that they are taking advantage of a loophole. They're taking advantage of the fact that the partner or the spouse has no information. So it's not like we need to create another.
So, but according to my senior last week, with the creation of the BVN, it's now easy because every account the person has with every bank, once she's able to access one bank, she can actually access all the accounts and all banks.
Let me take this call. No, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So as we wrap up this conversation on telling your spouse about your past and also disclosing to your spouse about what you have. Let's take a few tweets and then wrap this up.
So Omolara Williams Ojima says, most men have secrets as well, and they don't disclose to their wives unless the wives find out themselves. And when they find out, they expect the woman to take it in good faith. Inside life, she put that.
Oluwatosin Odunade says, I strongly agree with Mariam. As long as your past won't affect your marriage, you don't have to share. The more you know your spouse, the more comfortable you can be to share, not your past, whether it affects or not the marriage.
That Twitter raised an important point. If it's the wife that's having to listen to her husband open up a story from his past. She's willing to accept it, or just usually, well, so many times they're always willing to accept and move on. Yes, they might be upset, but eventually, but the men, on the other hand, find it difficult moving on.
I saw a woman whose husband came home with a 9-year-old boy and she flipped. She kept shouting. I kept asking her, nah, HIV, you don't die. Why are you screaming? She was like, he kept it secret. He kept it secret. I said, it's when the baby reached to tell you. That's why they told you.
Was the baby was it when they were married?
Yes, they were already married. When he came home with a 9-year-old boy.
So me, I know someone.
When they were married about 3 years.
Whose wife? Whose wife gave birth 2 weeks after another person gave birth. Okay. And the man told his wife that after I need to travel after this naming ceremony because this person born for another state. Because it's heavy. So we must all develop. You don't have any business getting married if you're not mature enough to deal with the issues that would happen in marriage. Marriage has many issues. You might not plan for it, but if it happens, be able to deal with it.
I need to go back to what Nima said.
There's nothing coming from the sky that the ground is not ready to take. My own uncle. No, I know this one I'm dead.
Oh, let me take Friday.
Just take Friday.
Let the Friday save you from saying this one.
There.
Hello, good morning. I'm here.
Morning, go ahead, please.
I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Okay, so for real life story, I actually married my wife and she had fibroids.
Okay.
And, one of the doctors went to one of the hospital at one point. The guy was like, take it off and all that. But, as a Christian, I had faith that God can do anything. So went to the second doctor and all that, and the man was like, well, you guys, there's no problem. You guys hurry up and have your children. Have all the children that you want. If you want to take it off, take it off. So with faith, we just got married and all of that. And as I speak to you now, we have a son, a very healthy son, and all that. But when she got pregnant, the fibroid will just shrink and it will be as if there's nothing there. So right now, we have a son. And then going back to the other issue of keeping things or not keeping things, I don't think that it really matters whether you keep or not, because we had an episode too, like when we lost my dad and my mom. My other brother was the next of kin, and before we could even get anything, you understand, from the court and all that, I had to go and get affidavit. We had to use like almost 2 years before any of things from them. So I don't really think that. I think it's just the Nigerian process. The Nigerian system is just to frustrate people from getting what they deserve.
Thank you very much, Friday. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to share this comedy. My uncle's wife gave birth, and he knew the side chick too. So the two of them, the naming day was just a day apart from each other. Yes. So I got ready on time, much earlier on time.
You attended both of them?
There's nothing. Did I even attend anyone? I was a young girl. My parents were just talking about that. Uncle's. I was like, in this family, is it possible? Does it even happen? But the side chick was pregnant. She knew the wife was in the house. Wife was away for a while. Side chick helped her. And take care of. So the child, the naming, they were just, on the same week. And I just prepared early in my life that, see, some things, are not big deal. I just might not be able to do them, but these things, this is how I would, these things where I mark them off the list immediately.
It's about maturity.
Come and die because of somebody's
in marriage, and if once you're old enough to get married, you should be old enough to deal with the things that life throws at you, and we mustn't allow. And it's tough. Some people have gone through really tough, disappointing stories, but we must develop that shock absorber that this has happened before. I would survive, and I would move on, and I will thrive.
Please say this to both the men and the women.
Both men and women.
There's a man that did not disclose to his wife that he had HIV.
And the wife now found out.
And that's why churches had to come in.
That's murder.
So I think that's where churches now come in and insist that you have your health report before you
Before we run off, please, I want to just beg all the men outside, even if you are 30, you are 31, whatever it is, write a will, because we take it for granted and we think that we have enough years ahead. And I'm praying all of us will live long into our 80s and 90s, but write a will now.
Keep your account secret if you like, but put it in a will. Let your wife know there's a will at the probate in case I die, so that they can approach probate to get your will. That's all. Whatever accounts you have, put everything, take inventory, put it.
You might think you don't have any money, but just put it there.
If you have an investment that's supposed to generate
money. Think about your children, you don't want them to suffer. Even if you don't have issues with your wife, because men, they always have fights. But if you have issues with your spouse, think about the fact that you have children. They need to be protected, and that's what you need to do.
Women fear that their husbands might remarry and use their money to marry. So if you fear that,
you know, that's another
find
thing.
a trust to put, you know, in place. Let your children
See, I always tell everybody something. My grandfather, till tomorrow, my mother still gets inheritance. He died in 1976. Fuja. This man, Alhaji Fuja, was able to put his entire, everything he had in a proper trust. Till tomorrow, my mother is 73 years old. She is still collecting inheritance.
Because her father
That's
did the
a
right
man
thing.
that planned for his children's children's children.
Yes.
A lot of men should take cue from that.
That's a good way to handle it.
Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.